All right, welcome to the latest episode of the Colman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. And if I haven't, and you haven't heard from myself, that it's out. It's an Amazon #1 bestseller. It's the Power of Organic Fitness. Yes, that is me on the front cover of it. If you haven't got your hands on it yet, I highly do recommend. The links of it are on my tree line. I don't really do ads, but this is literally me talking on my podcast about the book. But get straight to the podcast's questions. This is a Q&A, solo Q&A that we're doing right here, right now. Because the influx of questions I'm getting on all my social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and most certainly Facebook too. So all those platforms, Colman Power, can't miss me. And there are different, I suppose, content items for each. So if you are more certainly following me on one, you will worth checking the others out. So I touch on the 4 topics in questions we have for this week's show. So do I track calories? That's the first question. The second question is cheese fattening. What's the next one? Eating meals you recommended and not going to the toilet as frequent. Help. I'll be touching on that. That's a really important one. To gut health. What can I eat for more energy? Okay, so those are 4 main topics we most certainly will be going through in this week's show. We're talking about all things organic, fitness, food, and nutrition. So, do I track calories? In from Adrian Mack from TikTok. I was asked on a live there very recently. So, getting back to that question to expand on the points here directly in, I suppose, a 20 to 30 minute session. Tracking calories is something that I have done in the past and that I do get people to do on the organic fitness program, due to the fact that it is so important that you understand foods. It's not that you ever, forever and always have to track your calories. It gives you a huge indication of what foods contain proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Every food item under the sun, whether it's a pizza, preferably sourdough, organic cheese, and the like. So if you are fond of any vegetables on your and fruits pizza, go with that. Basil, definitely, it's an adaptogenic herb that actually helps the body to deal with stress, and it has nearly 10 times the amount of antioxidants that vegetables do. So that's really important to add to your diet. So whether it's a pizza, whether it's a piece of chicken, whether it's a potato, you name the item, it gives you a huge understanding when you track what 100 calories or what 100 grams of any of those items are with it. As I said, the food item is indiscriminate to your diet. So you pick the foods that you eat every day, whether you have a breakfast at whatever time you have porridge, you have eggs, you have an omelette, and you have a smoothie, you have a protein shake. Those food items contain a certain amount of calories. But if you're looking to be specific and looking for a weight loss goal or to build lean muscle tissue, it is well worth knowing how much protein is in a chicken fillet. I know, because it's like your times tables. Once you learn them off, once you do it a couple of times, like tying the shoelace, you then forever and always know that 100 grams of chicken is 20 grams of protein. And for the most part, all meat sources, 100 grams, which is typically fist size, because then it goes to, I suppose, you not tracking and having a look at a chicken fillet, but size of your fist. A steak, if you have a steak, grass-fed, organic, gold standard, is 20, and even maybe a little bit higher, depending on the likes of the cut of the meat source. So that's and same with fish. And I'm going to go, this is the determination of what 100 grams looks like. It's fist size. So after you've tracked, weighed it once or twice, you then know that's what it looks like on a plate. So you don't have to do it over and over again. And then it sits lovely in your noggin that when you're going out for meals, you are trying to get, this is the minimum requirement, a 30-gram target. So how do you do that? We'll take the example for a dinner. So if you were to have a chicken fillet, that would be 20 grams of protein. So where else could you get it? 100 grams of beans. These are numbers that I have in my head, nothing written down in front of me. 100 grams of beans, we call it French beans because they're in season right now and they're in abundance. If you haven't tried them, I highly recommend. French beans are long green, as thin as your baby finger, and they're lovely. 100 grams of those is typically about 6 or 7 grams of protein. So that's chicken fillet, then some French beans, 27. If you sprinkle on some hemp seeds, we're over 30. So there are 3 different sources of protein, which I do recommend. You can have it in a different option. We'll go with the likes of anybody who's having fish. So Shine's tuna. A tin of those, let's say for lunch, is being 20. I'm going to say 21 grams of protein for this labeled as. Here we go. Protein source is 19.1 in the sardines. There we go. And that's the same with tuna. That's the same with mackerel. For the most part, you're roughly aiming for 30 grams of protein. So how would you hit that next with the likes of having just the sardines? You could double it up to 2 sardines, or you could most certainly have a lunch that would have sourdough bread. 2 slices of sourdough bread would most certainly give you 5 grams of protein. And that, remember, it also would have carbohydrates in that. So how do you know how much carbohydrates in it? You would have to look up either by Googling or by tracking it on the likes of MyFitnessPal. These are things you need to learn to understand foods. And those are the basics. Those are the basics of understanding why I get some people to track their foods if they're really specific on, I suppose, a weight loss goal, because that is the principles of food. You can go down into the likes of the micronutrients after that, which is the likes of your calcium, iron, magnesium, all things that are found in a different app, Chronometer, which I do use and have used for myself and specific clients that really want to dial down their nutrition. But for the most part, people are not eating enough protein and fiber. And that's why I'm often recommending plant-based source of protein. It's not to just be a vegan or vegetarian to get them, eat them. Please eat them. They're so good. And tofu and tempeh is a meat alternative that is completely different to the likes of those meat substitutes. I do not recommend them. I do not. I'm going to take a drink of ginger tea, really, with the ginger chopped up, no microplastics in there. So that is one of the things that I do with my clients. But right now, I don't track calories. And even if I am trying to, suppose, build muscle or lose weight, what I do is I will up my steps. It's the most simplest thing, whatever your fitness level is at, to improve your health, up your NEAT activity. Those are the things that are not necessarily labeled as quote unquote exercise, where you're jumping around your sitting room, doing a finisher or doing a couple of squats. It's a real, I suppose, breadwinner if you can get 10,000 steps. It burns between 300 and 500 calories, and that's without paying anybody. Just do that simple tip for yourself. And with the likes of how much protein do I recommend to people? Roughly 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kg of body weight. That is a specific number to people if you're looking for a weight loss goal. And it's also very similar if you, number-wise, if you have a goal of building lean muscle tissue. Protein's essential. Healthy fats are essential. And carbohydrates are not essential, but they're most certainly something that you can and do need to consume because it is the body's first source of energy. That is answering that question in a fully expanded point. That any question I may get on social media is very difficult for me to do in 15, 30 seconds or reply to somebody. I even do send voice notes. So if you do have a question, always send it over to me. Instagram, TikTok does not allow me to do that just as I get. But it's coming, I betcha. It's coming. TikTok, get on it. Winning. So that is Adrian Mack's question. I don't track calories, but I definitely did and do recommend it to certain individuals, especially if you tend to binge eat, because that more often than not is because you're under eating foods. When you're under eating foods, you certainly then say to yourself, I have been really good all week, and you tend to, I suppose, overeat either at the end of the day or on Friday and absolutely the dog on it. Oh, excuse me. Is cheese fattening? That comes from Bridget on Instagram. So cheese, firstly, it's not all created equally, and I highly recommend you to get things that are grass-fed, whatever cheese you're getting. A lot of people cannot tolerate the lactose in cheese, and it's well worth working with a coach to take out certain types of foods that are causing you irritation, and after that, adding them back in. So I was someone who was lactose intolerant as a child and was given a high percentage of soya, but as long-term listeners of the show will know, and readers of the book, readers of that book will most certainly note that non-organic soya can be sprayed heavily, and due to the fact it speeds up the ripening process and is something that can use genetically modified seeds to be able to tolerate the spray and kill the surrounding weeds. So I was fed that because I had, I suppose, given a high percentage of antibiotics which kill the beneficial gut bacteria in my stomach as a child, and I then suffered from autoimmune diseases such as poor skin, asthma, and eczema was something that tormented me, and had major sinus problems growing up as a child, and found it difficult to excel in sport. That didn't ever deter me because I have a fair bit of grit about me. And then reintroducing foods, taking control of my diet and reintroducing foods such as dairy into my diet has become the norm right now. So I'm currently on not only organic cheeses, but I'm drinking local organic raw milk. And those are things that I typically wouldn't have been able to most certainly consume. But because I've improved my gut lining through, I suppose, eating natural pre and probiotics, which I suppose to expand on that point, probiotics are fermented foods that really do probiotics are fermented foods that naturally populate your beneficial gut bacteria, and for you to add those into your diet is going to only do good for yourself. So those are fermented foods such as kimchi and sauerkraut. You can make them yourself or you can buy them, and I'm most certainly showing people how to grow their own at courses. Next course is on the 1st of October in Featherfield Farm in County Kildare. And if anyone's looking to go to that, send me a message. I'd love to have you there. Growing cabbages throughout the winter months because it's from the brassica family, and brassicas are able to tolerate the cold because they're related to Brussels sprouts. And remember, Brussels sprouts come into season for, in particularly around Christmas, and also for a reason, because they're high in that antioxidant sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is so good at reducing the likes of chronic illnesses and inflammation in the body, such as cancer. So that's why Brussels sprouts are key. And red cabbage and all other cabbages are from the same family. So getting back to cheese, and is it fattening? Cheese does contain 9 kilocalories per gram because it contains healthy fats, but it also is a complete protein. But when I do mention protein sources that I list out often because it's the main thing that people in the health industry are going to touch on, the ones I recommend typically straight off the bat isn't cheese. So it's chicken, fish, turkey, eggs, tofu, tempeh, hemp seeds, then it kind of goes quinoa, then it goes bulgur wheat. Those are nine, and then it goes on to yogurt. You can typically get them low fat, but not necessarily why I want you to eat low fat. Is why I have to look into your nutrition as a whole. So, for example, let's say Bridget was consuming a high percentage of cheese in her diet. I would recommend her a low fat yogurt, because yogurts are really easy for anybody, whether a male or female, to get a grab on the go and have your protein and hit your protein target. Because she's having the fats in the cheese, it's something that she must dial down in other food options that she has. But if she hadn't a lot of cheese in her diet, most certainly, preferably whole, full fat organic yogurt that has been grass fed, and that's why organic produce is most certainly better for you, because the animals are not given antibiotics, and if they are, they must be taken out of the herd, which is another question that was actually asked, and maybe in a separate Q&A podcast. What's the difference between the likes of organic dairy and non-organic dairy? So for the most part, it's that they're 100% antibiotic free, and if they are given a treatment, if they are sick, it's not that they can't be given it, it's that they've been taken out of the herd and they can be sold as non-organic or conventional. That's one of the main differences, and that's important for people to note. And people don't know that, people don't see that, and often I chat to people, farmers and even fellows of my own age and background looking after animals. They say, oh, I would never go organic, and I would ask them why, because it's so cruel to the animals. In fact, there's a higher standard typically kept on organic farms, typically the smaller ones. Looking after the animals is priority, and as a result of that, we have there are regular inspections on site, which is something that doesn't happen on, and yearly inspections on conventional farms, and that's why typical poor, I suppose, quality meats can inevitably lead to poor quality cheaper foods leading to poor health in overall, because there's corners cut somewhere. The price of food is never paid just at the counter. And getting back to the likes of the fats again, cheese is not fattening. It just has a high percentage of calories. You can over high percentage of fats, which is the highest of the calories of the three main macronutrients. So protein contains 4 kilocalories per gram. Get out a piece of paper for this one. Protein and carbohydrates are both 4 kilocalories per gram. So that's why you weigh stuff if you want to really learn about nutrition. Then, or turn around the back of the labels and scan them and see on an app like Chronometer or your MyFitnessPal. Those are going to tell you that 100 grams of cheese would be in the region of, again, 20 grams of protein, I'm going to say, but I don't know how many fats off the top of my head. And I most certainly will be putting this in the show notes, because that's something that I had learned, but I forgot. But I can most certainly check it. I'm sure if I check the fridge right now, there is an organic cheese that I have there. Too far away from the fridge. So if anyone wants to beat me to it and write it in the likes of the comments, or when I post this up on either Instagram or Facebook, go for it. Do your homework. And that's how you learn. You learn by doing it. I learned so much about nutrition and health from, I suppose, going through the foods that I currently was eating. And oh yeah, that's so interesting. So I know in about 40 grams of oats, there's about 25 grams of carbohydrates. I know in an egg, there's about 6 and 7 grams of protein, and there's about 3 grams of fats and very little carbohydrates, nearly zero. And there's things that I typically have every day. And we're going to go with chicken. There's another one, 20 grams of protein, very little carbohydrates, and minimal fats, because it's a lean cut of meat. Whether it was mince, or you could have high fats mince, you could have low fats mince, you could have fish, you could have, and typically fish, if it comes in a tin, it will be labeled. But if it's not, you can most certainly, again, Google the whole calories and macronutrients and the breakdown of it. And fats are not bad. It's just something that people typically can overeat on, and then have, I suppose, we'll call it chocolates, biscuits, cakes, inevitably then leading them over into a calorie surplus or even calorie maintenance will prevent you from losing weight. And that's where the killer is. Whether it's feta cheese, whether it's blue cheese, whether it's sliced, whatever your preference of cheese may be, cheddar. My God, mouth waters now talking about food. Cannot wait for something to eat. Cannot wait. That's why it just kills me. I should really eat something and then do these podcasts. That'll be fine. So more satiated, and be on to a winner. So next question we're going on to is eating meals you recommended and not going to the loo as much. Okay, this can happen, people. A lot of people may take a snapshot of what I put up on social medias, and for the most part, it's typically high protein meals that I do have, because that's what people need to eat more of, especially for better looking skin, hair, and definitely if your goal is for optimal health. Because it's essential. All 9 essential amino acids, as I mentioned, the complete proteins: chicken, fish, turkey, eggs, chicken, fish, turkey, eggs, tofu, and tempeh. I feel like I need to run through those. I've said them a million times. This is the 3rd year of the podcast. I don't know what number it is just yet. I could check it, but there's been a heap, one every Thursday for the last 3 years. You chalk it down, there hasn't been one missed. In fact, there may have been 1 year, one week in one of those 3 years that I did actually 2 in 1 week. So check that out. Boo shakalaka. We're going down to, yes, reasons why. Because excessive amounts of protein can cause constipation, as well as certain types of fiber. So soluble fiber is something that people, if they consume too much of, can prevent them from going to the toilet. Blockages, constipation, and what do I recommend? Magnesium foods. So these are most certainly your foods that do contain magnesium: chickpeas, lentils, beans, and magnesium-filled greens. Kale in season. Get it purple. Midnight sun is a beauty. Okay, I'm selling that here on the farm at the minute. You want to get your hands on any of those kale filled, magnesium filled kale greens, you're on a winner. Microgreens are another thing. Very easily grown or very easily consumed in abundance. Bind them or grow them yourself. Just add them to your diet. The more magnesium you get in your diet, not only will you be, I suppose, going to the toilet a bit more regular, it is something that pulls out toxins of your body. Like even myself, whether I'm on drinking water on the go, and I may be drinking it or anyone may be drinking from a plastic bottle. There are toxins such as BPA. BPA is a toxin you don't want excessive amounts in your body because it's a hormone mimicking toxin, such as endocrine disruptor is the word of the person. Endocrine disruptor. It can mimic hormones in the body and can cause in excessive amounts infertility. So those are things that you do not want, especially if you are trying to conceive a baby. I was going to say baby boy or baby girl. So that is something that a couple of clients are coming into issues with, and I definitely do recommend people to drink filtered water as well as drinking from a glass container or bottle, such as some of the ones that I put out on social media. There's no brands. It's literally a glass jar that I reuse constantly and put maybe a slice of ginger in, or basil, or any type of parsley, any type of those herbs that I like. Currently drinking from my new cup. It says happy. It says happy on it. Lads, do more things that make you happy, and more certainly fiber. And more so to the point, flax seeds that are a great source of fiber. It can help you go to the toilet a bit more regularly. Is something that I do recommend to yourself. We'll keep that one anonymous just for yourself. And last one is, what can I eat for more energy? Comes from Seamus, 1 to 12. And that comes in from the likes of TikTok as well. So touching on that point, more energy. Foods that give you energy. Straight away, we've touched on a couple already. Magnesium is not only good for, I suppose, helping bowel movements, but really important for the likes of energy production. Magnesium, again, we found in all our beans and lentils. And topping it off, then, one thing I haven't mentioned was cacao. Magnesium is 100% key for overall health. Its minimum requirement 300 milligrams. But how do I know it? For the most part, unless you're using chronometer, you won't know that. But in the book, there is an example of, what pages off the top of my head, of how to hit your daily recommended amount of magnesium in a day. It includes the likes of 100 grams of greens, because that's going to give you 20 grams, 15 grams of hemp seeds. You're going to have 15 grams of your another type of bean, maybe French beans or kidney beans, and then the last 40% you can make up with the likes of cacao. And cacao, the amount that I want is about 15 grams. And how do you know and measure those things out? For the cacao, a big spoon, the one you have your Weetabix with, or your porridge preferably, because Weetabix is actually not great. You can have better options, lads. And wheat is something that is often, especially with our organic Weetabix now, wheat is something that's often sprayed to speed up the revenue process. And again, these are all small things people do not see in the background. And how do you improve your health? You improve your gut. When you improve your diet, eating more local, fresh, and non-sprayed, chemical-free, organic produce, you can reach any of your fitness goals a hell of a lot easier. You can look better. You can feel better. Reduce bloating, reducing IBS. All these things definitely lose weight, because when you have more energy, you most certainly will be much more likely to train. So those are the things on top of, okay, the ones that people may know already are carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, lads, they come in the form of two things: simple carbohydrates and complex. So if you're looking for a little more energy and you're not running off healthy fats, which none of my clients are currently doing. There was one guy previously, but it's a tough game running off completely fats. It's restricting some certain vegetables. So I recommend you to have a diet that includes foods that you like, and I'll help you with that. If you have any questions, always ask me. I'm here to help. And touching on the simple carbohydrates are the ones that are refined. So it's white rice or white pasta or white breads. Please don't eat white breads, like pies. Especially my American listeners, they're literally putting sugar in your white bread. Crazy stuff. So and the following that is your complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are your sourdough breads, any brown breads, but sourdough bread fermented. So you're putting two birds with one stone there. Then you go on to brown pasta, and you go on to the likes of lentils and brown rice. Those are simple. And oats are a great one too, that I pretty much have every single day. I love oats. Flavins, where you at? We're talking about you lads since day dot. What fella? What a book, lads. What a book. I may have mentioned flavins in this. And then definitely things to improve the likes of your energy levels is getting adequate sleep. If you are currently not getting enough sleep, and it's slightly different for everyone, but I do recommend roughly about 8 hours. Because there's 24 hours in a day, and somebody is not getting enough, but it's getting enough quality sleep. You need to unwind. You need to put down the phone. You need to make time for yourself. Watching the sunrise and the sunset is something that's completely organic, as I like to call it, and it sort of sets your circadian rhythm. If you have kids, if you're struggling or watching things before bed, put on a set of blue light blocking glasses. And they're the worst influence or the best. You can use my code, it's Colman 15. I don't want you to buy the glasses unless you're doing the simple things. Are you getting up and seeing sunlight in the morning? Whatever time you get up. If you're getting up before that, just get bright lights into your eyes. If you're getting up a cockcrow, we're coming in towards, suppose, rather a million miles. We're coming into cooler and shorter days. That just means that you need bright lights as soon as you can in the morning. And later on in the evening is what you're looking for, is also to turn down the lights. For myself, I am on the upper end, and I'll tell you straight away, I don't use a high percentage of lights throughout the 12 months, throughout the year. Why? Because I know how important sleep is. Sleep is something that gives me energy, and a lot of people are looking for it, and they're wondering where and how could they be and have as much energy as I have. You don't have to be anything, I suppose, close to where I am, because what people don't see is I don't have children. I do all the small things that are a compound effect to get me from where I was in my health to where I am right now. And if you just look for and added in some of the tips or any of the tips, you'd be 1% better. And that's all you're looking for. And a little tip for going to bed is setting an alarm that most certainly will tell the body and tell yourself it's time to get ready, brush your teeth, whatever has to be done. You have to, I suppose, either leave it there and make your sleep priority. If you don't make your sleep priority, you can't be your best for your training, your family, your kids, your job, and you're the only person who's really actually losing out. You're jaded, tired, you're stressed out of your head, your hair's falling out, you're under pressure, and you're wondering why. Sleep is key. You have to focus in on it, because if you're not sleeping right, you're not functioning at optimal levels. I'm going to tell you that if you follow the things that I wrote down in this book that I'm telling you for free right now, if you don't have it, I can literally screenshot you or send you a book, because that's what I wrote this book for, actually help people. Grounding is something that I do as well. All these things help. Why? Because in the morning, it naturally increases your stress hormone. You want more stress in the morning. You want to be alert. How do you do that? People are stuck to the bed. I'm going to tell you, if you count down from 3, from 2, and 1, and jump out of the bed, that's another tip that I use. Like, since that book came out, I was absolutely drained. I'm going to say I was under pressure, and that mightn't come across, but this is when you get to expand on these kind of points. I was so tired. There was times where I didn't get up at my early crack of dawn, because I put so much effort into the book. Then I took on a huge task of setting up a grow your own course based in Kildare, veg boxes, and taking on clients online. But that's something that I did, and I'm just going to tell you straight up, I suffered with poor sleep. But I slowed down. Sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. It's a really important point. It's kind of simple and it's kind of key, but if you put it into practice, you will gain the advantage of it. I had to slow down. I had to unwind. I had to go back to the basic principles. I had too much on my plate. You have to get help. Sometimes even myself has to get help from friends, family members, or delegate out jobs that you literally know that you cannot get and do at the current pace that you're doing right now. I suppose that's a nice way to wrap up, making yourself priority. Because if you don't, you're the most important person in the world. If you don't look after yourself, no one else will, okay? Do you hear me? That's for you. Right. Really enjoyed that, actually, the Q&A right there. Right, to just, I suppose, hit you up with the likes of the events that are coming up very soon. You have the course, the retreat first, that's on the 26th of August. Okay, that is something that I do want people to come together with like-minded people. You have 3 days, 2 nights. Starts Friday evening, finishes Sunday. You have an in-house sauna. You have the best of what we like to call people that come to it, that are all in the same way. We're looking to improve. You've grounding, you've yoga, you've Carol down and cooking the finest of meals. You've Joe, the personal development coach. You have a yoga room. You have a view of the mountain range of Croagh Patrick. It's unreal. You have one on the 26th of August and the 23rd of September. Those are the 2 dates, both in Mayo at Annancree. It's a place like no other. And there's a Python, and I'll be doing the demos on the Grow Your Own and talking about nutrition and health for people who come and attend. This one's going to be special. Touching on the likes of the Grow Your Own course, it's on the 1st of October, the first Saturday in October, just after September. I would love to see you there. Again, if you go to that course, you have a full day hands-on approach. There'll be no sitting down around the classroom. There's a pie tunnel. You'll be growing your own on-site, hands-on stuff, lads. Tomatoes, we will be picking and harvesting and training them, showing you how to grow a little bit of your own, be more sustainable, to get the best type of nutrition you possibly can. Kale, rocket, red cabbage, sauerkraut, gut health, you betcha. So those are things, and going away with 77 plants. There's never in the country that's doing that, right? Because I excel in whatever I do. Other than that, talk soon, Godspeed, and you know how I like to finish these podcasts. Stay tuned, stay classy, and keep it organic.